Hey, welcome back to this POSCA Marker drawing vlog. So today I'll be drawing a manta ray swimming over a coral reef in Okinawa. So I started out by doing a quick sketch on the black illustration board. I didn't want to go too fancy or draw too many details. I kept it simple to the point, adding in just enough to know where the manta ray was and where the coral reef was. Once I got that laid in, I went in with a gray Posca, laid down that as a base layer for the rock, and then added in several layers of washes of acrylic paint for some of the shadows and texture of the rock. Now, for the background, I wanted the scene to be as if we're low in the water deep down, looking up towards the reef and up into the surface of the water almost, and seeing the light coming down through the surface. So I did that. I laid the blues in. I layered them up using a kind of a wet on wet method using acrylic paint. And once that was all dry, I still wasn't quite happy with the blue. It was a bit too dark because of the board I used. That was a black color. So I went in with another layer and lightened it up, made it a bit more light using some lighter blues. I had to leave it drying so it would flatten out and the board wouldn't be too wrinkly. And once that had dried overnight, I started working on the corals. And I had done another painting a year or two ago of a coral reef, and I had learned a few things. The corals I wanted to do for this painting were Acropora corals and Montipora capricorna, two hard corals that typically grow in the Okinawa reefs. So I had those in mind and knew kind of what they look like from working with my own reef aquarium. I really wanted to show a depth to this painting, so have some corals far off, towards the left side, further up, down in the scene, and then some in the middle, kind of the middle area, and then some in the foreground, and then some really, really close to the viewer. So I went in layering up, starting with a base layer of greens and purples, and each time, of course, I have to let that color dry of the Posca marker to then go in with a second layer. For the Montipora, I used either a light yellow Posca or a light orange, and I just colored in an area, kind of thinking about how those corals tend to plate and really branch out, and also thinking about how corals kind of overlap each other like trees. They're all competing for the light, so they're reaching out towards the surface, towards the light, and that's what I had trying to show in this drawing. And then I have the corals in the kind of the middle to foreground, and then I really wanted to show how some of the corals fade. So I go in with some washes, I add in some blues and a little bit of brown to kind of tone some of the corals down, push them further away, and get a nice depth effect. And then at times I come back with either a light pink or a light green to lighten up some of the tips of the corals and really show that the tips are a bit lighter, a bit brighter, illuminated by the sun, versus the lower part of the coral is a bit darker, more down in the base of the coral. So it's kind of showing a 3D effect. So here you can see the final drawing. Really happy with how it came out. I went in with a varnish and laid that in. That really made the colors pop, darkened up some of the colors, and got the look of what I wanted. So I hope you like this drawing. Be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.